Welcome back. In the last video on this car, I said that the next thing we were going to be working on would be the cockpit, and that is definitely what we're going to dive into today. There's a few issues that I want to address around the driver area of the car. So we're going to do a decent disassembly and redo some of the stuff that I did a few years ago. I've just, in driving it around, I've got some improvements that I want to make to the seating position and some things around there. So let me show you what we're getting ready to jump into here. Okay, this project starts with the driver's seat. And that is kind of the impetus for why I'm changing things, but changing the driver's seating position will necessitate a number of changes, and then while we're in there, we might as well take care of some other stuff. So it is not reclined enough. So yes, I'm recording. Hang on, bud. Okay, when I'm sitting in this, there is, I'm gonna say 1.5-ish gap between the bottom of my thigh, hold on, and the seat here. So my leg actually sits up off of the seat. My knee is right around here in this pad, and then it goes down to the gas pedal. And part of the reason I installed this pad was because I wanted to rest my knee somewhere, and because it wasn't resting on the seat, it was just kind of floating in air. My leg would fatigue after a half hour, 45 minutes of driving, just kind of holding my leg in a vertical position. So the fix of that is to recline the whole seat and bring that pad up. But when I do that, I think, based on some early testing, I had this seat out last year playing with it. It actually needs to move forward just a tad too. But my head goes backwards and my arms go backwards. So then that also necessitates a change to the steering column, because it's in the wrong spot then. So I need to completely redo this steering column. It's got to pull down a couple of inches and get longer. So that means all of this mount needs to be redone, cut out. I'm gonna actually cut out some of this structure that doesn't need to be here and rethink the whole way that the steering column is mounted. And there is a slight obstruction to my brake pad when I went to manual brakes, so we're gonna fix that at the same time. And since I'm changing the steering column, I am going to a collapsible steering column. So it's always kind of bothered me that I didn't have a collapsible steering column. If I'm in an accident, I want that thing to collapse down a little bit so that I don't get a steering column to the chest. So we're gonna upgrade to a collapsible column for safety reasons. And since we're redoing the mount and everything, I am replacing that screen. I have never been really happy with this Holley 7-inch screen. The touch isn't great. It doesn't pick up touches very well. And then the screen actually cracked, it's glass. So I have bought this from Tinker Electronics. So this is I think a 10-inch screen up from the 7, and it has shift lights across the top that are programmable, and it is supposed to work with the Holley system and allow me to pick up a few extra inputs, particularly analog inputs. So I should be able to, my fuel gauge right here, move that into the dash, as well as the oil temperature gauge that I've got over there. So I can consolidate some stuff into the dash, get rid of some of the clutter. And then since we're pulling everything out and working on it, we're gonna work on the center column and fix up some of that. So that was kind of long-winded, but let's jump into it, start taking some stuff apart.
Got my foot down on the gas now. Can't you feel it as we tear through? Take my chances on these wild roads. Baby, trust me, I won't let go. Engines burning, wheels are turning. Can't slow down, won't slow down. Baby, hold on, we can't slow down. Can't slow down. See the signs pass like a fast flash. 10 miles more now, push it harder. Hearts on fire, wind is screaming. You beside me makes me free. Engines burning, wheels are turning. Can't slow down, won't slow down. Baby,
Well, that didn't take too long. Disassembly is always the easy part, but this is all clear. I am not 100% sure if I'm going to cut this structure out yet. I am going to get the seat in here first and play with where the steering should be, and then figure out if I want to delete that or use that as a mounting point. So we are working with some scrap aluminum that I picked up. It's just some C-channel, pretty large C-channel, but it's the right dimensions. The lip here is 2.5 inches, I think, which is the right length, and it's taller than the, here, let me show you next to the, there's the original seat bracket. So I'll save some weight. This is aluminum, this is steel, and be able to come up higher. I want to come up probably 2 inches. I'm going to start there. Maybe I'll give myself a couple of options, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, or something like that. So I basically just need to cut this up and start drilling some holes, and I'll have to figure out the center mount for this seat belt. Maybe a bar going between the two channels, because these are going to be kind of independent from each other and not a fixed square like I have going on here. Well, here's the brackets that I whipped up out of those scrap pieces of aluminum. So we are going to throw these in the car and see how they fit. I mean, I've test fitted them, you know, the bolt holes here, but see if that is the right height. I went about 2 inches higher in the front than the original bolt hole on the brackets here. I was using the highest hole. Actually, that's the front. Highest hole in the front, lowest one in the back. So I went 2 inches higher in the back, or in the front, and then the back is about where it was. So we'll see if that's a good fit or not. Okay, I have got this thing mostly bolted in. It's actually not bolted to the floor, but the sides are bolted in. So it might be a little high. I kind of went a full 2 inches up in the front, so I might have to drop it down, but I wanted to start on the kind of extreme end first. It definitely sits further back here. That's not a problem. Like, it's not hitting anything, so. And it's about, so it's 2 inches higher in the front and about 1 inch forward. Settle down a little bit. Yeah, that's pretty nice. It actually, yeah, it could actually stand to go up just a hair more, actually. I thought I was starting on the high end, but I don't think I want to take it up any higher, though. It's pretty good right here, and I'm worried that, one, I didn't leave enough meat on the brackets, and two, like, the lean becomes maybe a little extreme. So I think I'm gonna roll with this right here. So I need to finish up some work on the brackets to make them kind of more ready. I oversized the brackets quite a bit so that I had room to go in a bunch of different directions. So I'll hone those down, and of course I didn't oversize them enough in the front maybe to go up a little bit more, but that is way better than it was. I'm going to delete this knee pad here too because I don't need it now. The lean does make it a little harder to reach some of these controls. The shift handle is probably a little bit far forward now, but not terrible. All right, let's pull this back out and finish up these brackets.
Please hit that subscribe button and let's move on and have a nice day, guys. Yeah!
Okay, now that I've got the seat test fitted and I think that's going to be a good fit, you can see how, where that top hole is in relation to the top of the bracket. So I don't really want to drill another hole up there and lose a lot of material where that might rip out in an accident. So we're going to leave that alone, but there's still some trimming I can do on this bracket now that we know that it's a good fit. I can probably pull a little bit of meat out here if I want to save a little weight, and trim up the front of this here. This doesn't need to be this far out, and same on the back. I actually drilled a hole because there's a bolt coming through right here that's holding my diffuser in, but I can just cut this off here and trim that up. So that's what we're going to do, and lighten this thing up, but as well as remove it from obstructions. It actually has a bigger obstruction right here on this side. I pulled this bracket out already, but this hose is in the way, so I need to trim around that for that bracket. Last night I got that bracket painted up black so it's not gleaming silver down there, so you can't really see it, but that's the point, as I don't want it silver down there and showing off too much. Woke up this morning and got the seat mounted in, and I'm starting to work on the steering column, but I ran into an issue which is probably going to delay me. I need to see if a local speed shop has it, but this is the original steering shaft, and it is 3/4 by 36 spline, if I remember right, and that is what's coming out of the steering quickener that's down there, the silver thing. And this new collapsible column, I looked and looked and looked and looked and could not find a collapsible column with 36, 3/4 by 36. They're all 3/4 by 20. So I bought an adapter, let me grab it here, this guy, that has 36 on one end and 20 on the other. However, it's a U-joint. And the way I had this mounted before was the steering quickener is a hard mounted point, and then I have this pillow block bearing. And so between the two, that created rigidity in the steering column so it didn't move around. But if I introduce a flexible point at the bottom and only use one mounting point at the top, I'm going to have movement in the steering wheel. And I don't really want that. So I'd rather keep a fixed joint. Now, before doing this, I looked on the internet, and it seems like the internet said that these 3/4 by 20s were not actually 3/4 OD. It was the ID of the splines, but I just took a measurement, and it is 3/4 OD, and the splines are cut into the 3/4 inch shaft, which means I can go get a 36 spline to smooth 3/4 adapter, which are available all over the place, and just weld this on there. I'll have to pull this boot back, but that's not a big deal. So that is my plan. I'm gonna weld on this piece here onto the steering column, but I need to find one first. I don't know if it's available locally or I'll have to order it and come back to this later. Well, I called my local speed shop and they didn't have it in stock, and then I got to thinking I can just cut the old one off. So that's what I did. I cut around, cut the welds off, and that'll slide back on there. So I am going to cut that zip tie there, pull that boot back so I don't melt it, and then weld this thing together. When I went to the hardware store, and grabbed a piece of 2-inch angle aluminum. It's not iron, this is aluminum, but I decided to go ahead and mount it. There's some nice strong mounting points in here where the steering column mounted before. So I reused 2 bolts in there, and this thing is pretty rigid. I can shake, I mean, it moves a little bit, but I can shake the whole car with that. So I think that's going to be good. And once I tie this in, it'll probably even strengthen in a little bit more. So that's about where I want the column, maybe even a little bit lower. So I'm going to pull this back off of here, drill a hole for this thing. It's going to mount sideways into there, round off some of these corners so they're not annoying if I hit them. I've already got in and tested it, and I think it's going to be good for what I need and not really obstruction. I may even move the key switch mounted on here somewhere, so it's kind of like a traditional car with the key in the steering column. I don't know, we'll see if I get that far, but the thought crossed my mind. I need to get the steering column mounted and then take some measurements and see how that fits.
Life keeps pushing, I keep running. No tomorrow, just this moment. With you here now, nothing matters but this feeling as we fly.
After a lot of back and forth and measuring and cutting and modifying, this is what I have come up with. Once I got this in, there was too much play, particularly vertically. Left and right, not bad, but up and down, there was a lot of play, so I knew I needed to triangulate. So I cut up another piece of aluminum angle and bolted it in there, so the steering column is going through both pieces and it sandwiches it, and so now it's pretty solid in all directions. I now have to mess with mounting the dash. It's going to go somewhere here. I would have liked it a little bit further, but having to do this angle means I can't. So it's going to go up here close to me, which will be fine. So it'll obstruct some of that big 10-inch screen. One other thing to note is the old quick disconnect had a keyed spline in it, so it only went in one way, but this one is not. You can put the steering wheel in on the wrong angle, so I had to get a paint pen and mark the top of my steering column. And I'll probably still put it on wrong occasionally, but that should help. So that might be slightly annoying. If I want to change it, I'm gonna have to like cut the steering column and weld on a new one. So I'm gonna live with it like this until I can't stand it anymore, if it bothers me that bad. But the car is pretty much drivable. It's a Holley system, so I don't actually need the dash to drive. And so I may take it out and drive it just to get a feel for the seating position and make sure that nothing else needs to change before I start making a dash mount. So this is where it's at, and I should be building a dash mount next. All right, I got that bracket drilled out and mounted in there. I am still got to paint all that black so it's not silver, but I wanted to get it mounted, make sure everything fit right, and I didn't have to redo everything. And I like the way that looks. And it's situated just right for my head position, where the steering wheel does obstruct a little bit of the corners of the screen. These lights peek up over the top of the steering wheel, and I'm missing just a little bit, maybe a ½ inch of the top screen here, but I think that's going to be fine. So I've got it all wired into the Holley, and we are about to power this on. This thing has been sitting for a year probably at this point. I've meant to do this upgrade for a while, so I know there is a new version of firmware, so I've already got this plugged in. We're going to walk through that, but you're going to experience the power on of the Tinker Electronics with me for the first time. Okay, this should, okay, you're going to hear the fuel pump, but it should shut off in a second. You have to actually plug it in. Let me do that real quick. It's plugged in on the other end. I didn't plug it into the back of the dash. All right, try again. Okay. I don't know if ARFAR is a real number or not. Speed 404, that would be accurate. Yeah, I think it's picking up real information immediately. Intake air temperature is 76 degrees. That's probably roughly what it is in the garage right now. Battery voltage. Let's see what we got here. Okay, switches. I don't have any of these programs yet, so a bunch of different extra information here. Settings. Okay, brightness. That's nice. Speed source, ECU, or GPS. I do have a GPS adapter sitting up here, so let's look at what layouts I've got here. Save, back. Enable limit. I don't know. Okay. Big tack center. Speed shows up over here. This is like, who cares about speed? Layout 3. Vertical RPM bar. Speed is down here in the corner. Settings. Or I do care about speed. I want RPM to be center, but okay, speed is a little more prominent on this one. There are a bunch of different layouts, so, but at least initially it looks set up and ready to go with the Holly, and I could drive around with it like this, but let's go ahead and do an upgrade. Let's see. Update. There we go. Okay. So I've loaded. Oh. That's a problem. Well, I uploaded the flash, the firmware, and I also, there's software and firmware. I just updated the firmware. That went without a problem. I also put the software on a little micro USB. Tried to slide it in a slot that's up here and it just fell inside. So it looks like I need to pull this apart and pull that out. But the firmware's updated. I don't know if I missed the slot and if there's an extra gap. I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll be back with you momentarily.
Baby, hold on. We can't slow down. Can't slow down. Got my foot down on the gas now. Till the end now. Can't slow down.
All right. Install is almost complete. I designed in Fusion 360 this nice hood to keep the sun off of this, and decided to put some button bosses here. I put 3 on each side, so I don't know what I'll expand to in the future. I decided to move functionality off of this. I'm going to delete the rest of this probably after this episode is complete. But I have moved the horn and the blinkers up here because as I'm driving, especially with this new seating position, I am further away from this. This is my arm mostly stretched out, pretty much all the way stretched out, assuming the harness is holding me fully back in the seat. So I can't reach this, especially the blinkers over here, without leaning forward fairly significantly, which means my harness is not tight. Now, if I'm in a situation where I'm actually using the blinkers, I am driving on the streets, not racing, so I don't generally cinch my harnesses as tight. I could still use this, but this will be much easier. So I put some lighted blinkers or lighted buttons. These are 12 millimeter. And by the way, I am putting this on Thingiverse, so if anyone else has a 10-inch Tinker Electronics Dash V2, this will mate right up to it. I am putting one without the buttons, and with the buttons it will require a pretty large format printer to get this printed. But these are made for 12 millimeter buttons, which you can find all day long on Amazon. And chose one. The horn is obviously momentary. These are depress, and it makes the button blink at the same time because it's all tied into the clicker, and the clicker actually pulses 12 volts on off as it pulls power through it. So it makes this thing blink as well as the blinker blink. So that's a nice indicator that I've left my blinker on. And as I'm driving, here I've got the steering wheel up here. I can just kind of click the blinker or click both of them if I want my emergency flashers on for some reason. So that's emergency flashers as well. So everything is pretty much set up here. I've kind of tied up my wires mostly. I still need to do a little tidying, but it's pretty good. Everything's nice and visible with this larger steering wheel. I don't know if I said it previously or not, but I changed from 330 millimeter steering wheel to 350 to give me a little more viewing through the steering wheel on this dash. And now I can pretty much see everything. So that's great. Still need to print a center cap here to kind of cover this up, but I'll do that later. And I've got my fuel level sender wired in here so I can see my fuel level. And the oil temp gauge is also wired in here. However, something's off there, so I got to figure that out. But I'm going to do that a little later. But it's kind of reading wonky. I don't know if I nicked a wire somewhere. I'm not sure, but that is going to mostly, for you guys, complete the process here. I've got to clean up a little more wiring. And but this is mostly done. I might move this later to the key to over here. We'll see. That might be something I do, but it's not terrible there. And then eventually I will start moving some of these switches into, there's a set of switches in this dash that you can turn on. Really liking the setup. It's going to be much nicer to drive. So I need to rebalance the suspension a little bit. We're going to get into that next. But I really like it. The last thing I'm going to do in this video, well, actually I already did it, was I dropped in a new set of springs. Half shafts in the way. You get the idea. New set of springs. The old ones were 650 pounds per inch. No, 550. And I just put in 600. With this big wing back here that I put on here last year, going down like a curvy road or something, if I hit a significant dip, this thing bottoms out, or at least it scrapes the diffuser on the floor where it didn't before. So it definitely needs an upgrade in springs. So 50 pounds on each corner. I went up 100 pounds. It might need to go up more, but that's where I started with. And the front might need to go up more as well. I've got 650s in the front already, so I could push those to 700 and move the 650s back here if I want to in the future. So I went ahead and bought 600 to split the difference. We'll see how that works. I think it'll be an improvement. We'll see if I need to go up again. I also have not weighed this thing since I put the big wing back on here, and since I'm pulling some weight out of the cockpit, figured it was time to go ahead and corner balance this thing again. So threw it on some scales, and people ask all the time how much this thing weighs. 640 or 2,640 pounds without me in it. And I think it's got about 3/4 of a tank in it right now. So dry, I'd say 2,600, maybe a little less than 2,600. And it holds, what, I think 9 quarts of oil with the AccuSump. So fully dry, who knows, 2,500 pounds, but no one drives a car fully dry. So 2,600, 2,640, that's the 2,650 full fuel probably. That's the number that really matters. And then plus me in it. So right now, it's got a near perfect corner balance. It's basically even in the front and even in the back. but I got to sit in it and calculate a quarter balance out, so I need to make some adjustments after I sit in it. So I'm going to do that now and start making some adjustments. All right, that is going to do it for this episode. Off camera, I went ahead and checked the alignment on the front. Still perfectly neutral, so no toe in or toe out, just perfectly neutral toe. We've got it all corner balanced, and the cross weights are nearly perfect. I think 50.14 by 49 point whatever that is, 86. So all about as perfect as I can get it, and that is with me in the car. And you saw the weights, so with me in it, I think we're looking at 48.5% weight in the back, so 51.5 in the front. So still not quite that 50-50, but it's pretty close. So it should be really nicely set up. I still haven't driven it with the stiffer springs in the back. It only added 100 pounds, 50 per corner in the back. So I don't expect a huge difference, but it should, squat less and bottom out on those harsh bumps. So I need to get it out and drive it, but that is going to do it for this episode. I have driven it with the new cockpit setup, not with the dash, not with the 3D printed hood, but before I got the hood printed, and I really like that. The screen, the Tinker Electronics screen, is way more visible and bright, has better contrast than the Holley dash did before, especially in direct sunlight. So even without the hood, it's better than the Holley was with the hood. Definitely a huge upgrade for just visibility in full sunlight. So thanks for watching along on this. Hope you watch another. If you really enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you on the next one.